Góðan daginn. I am Street View Aestet and I am here to help you shoot the best indoor Street View tour that you possibly could make. If you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. In future videos I will be doing more topics about Street View, post-processing, preparation, how to become trusted, video mode and so much more. I've really been interested in Street View since Google had done a few cities in America, and I was really excited in 2013 when the Google car came to Iceland, and just a few years ago they started accepting submissions from regular people like you and me, so I jumped in and it's been a fun ride, and I hope to teach you how you can do it also. Although I'm focusing on Street View tours, many of these tips and tricks obviously will also apply to regular tours for other platforms. I'll be using a single shot camera. It's called the Insta360 1X. One of the more popular cameras, and I have to give out a big shout out to Ben Claremont for recommending that camera, and also in general thank him for introducing me to this 360 world. But if you are using a more high-end DSLR setup, keep watching because I'm sure you will also learn a thing or two. So here we are outside of Mál og Menning, downtown Reykjavík, and the thing you need to decide with the manager of the store is whether you want to do the Street View while the store is open or closed. I prefer to do it while the store is open because it shows the atmosphere of the place in its kind of a natural state, what people can expect when they enter. And that's what people are used to when they are watching Street View from the Street View car, that there are people walking around and their faces are blurred. When you shoot with DSLR cameras, the quality will be much better than a single shot camera, but you will not be able to do the shoot while the store is open. So that's one disadvantage of DSLR and why I focus mainly on single shot cameras. And the workflow is much faster also with a single shot camera. It's good if you have the luxury of printing out a map of the location. This is on a few floors, so I printed out the map, and that way, especially when it's a big store like this, few floors, I'll be able to prepare myself, map out locations, and go through it with the owner, see if he's happy with it, because of course, you know, the more photos there are, you know, the more expensive it's going to get, so it's good he knows. If you can't find the map of it, you could just sketch it out, or if it's a small restaurant, you really don't need to do it. It's mostly for big places like this. So let's go in and start preparing. Now I've done the first floor and downstairs. Google says for outside you take a picture every 3 meters and inside every 1 meter, but you know, I don't follow that, and I hope no one does that. Every 1 meter is way too often. I try to take a picture anywhere where it's relevant. Inside it could be 2 to 3 meters, sometimes 5 meters if it's a big hotel, for example, in the lobby of the hotel. You just want to, you know, move. For people get tired of, you know, going from one photo to another. The most I've done is 10 meters. That was in a swimming pool. It was just an empty walkway. Actually, the walkway was 20 meters. I thought that was too much, so I did one in the middle. So, you know, every 10 meters. I like to do one photo before the stairs and one right after the stairs. Anytime people are, going up or downstairs, they don't get disoriented. So let's keep going. Okay, so now I'm upstairs in the coffee shop, and I did downstairs, and I planned everything from the first floor and here on the second floor, and I really feel it's so important to do this one when you're on location and you have the feeling of, okay, what's important and what's not. Downstairs I really didn't go that much deep into all the corners, but just generally, okay, where I'm trying to predict where I think people want to go, and where I don't think people will go, I will not take a full shot there. So, and this helps also when you're shooting, that you can, kind of have a feeling of, okay, where am I going? What have I done? You can even, have a pencil and cross over places that you have done and so on. So now I'm going to show this to the manager and get his approval, and then we are ready to start shooting. It's for every shoot I like to clean it with the microfiber cloth. So this actually doubles as a microfiber cloth. So just make sure it's clean. Even also all the edges, because that's the one that shoots where the stitch line is. So I try to keep the edges clean as well. And it's good to do gyroscope calibration. So if it tilts a little bit, it will be auto-corrected later on. And I'll connect it to my phone and put it in HDR mode. HDR means that you will take 3 shots automatically, and it just brings a better exposure for different lighting when it's bright outside. It will not be overblown. So I actually have this nice setup here where I have the map, and then I just clip the phone into this case which I glued in, so it creates a very good work environment for myself. Right, and this is a light stand which was recommended by 360 Roomers. So I really like this setup because first of all, it never tilts like a normal tripod, so I know it's always level. I never need to move it. So just remember to pull up the first one, so this screw is not visible as much in the nadir. And then I also like to keep the camera around a little bit below my eyesight. I'm a little bit tall, I'm 180, so I like to keep it around this height. Depends of course on the place you are in, but in this store it just makes the ceiling a little bit higher. When you're looking at it, it makes the store feel a little bit bigger when the camera is a little bit low, but you don't want to make it unnatural. Of course, the number one rule is for you not to go through walls when you're in a virtual tour. So that also has to do with the doors. So I like to keep all the doors open. So with the automatic door like that, you'll have to, there's a setting in the corner where you can keep it open. But for regular doors, you'll need to get yourself a door stopper. You need more than one kind. This is a very small one, so you need for different types of doors, and maybe you want to have more than one door open at the same time. So I would get my hands on 2 or 3 of these door stoppers. So now we are outside for our first shot. I prefer to go a little bit outside to see the front of the store, have a wide angle of the store, and with this light stand, it's very versatile on how wide it is. So when I'm outside, I like to go quite wide. Now the weather is quite good, so I'll do it just halfway, like that, and then I'll put it together again to as small of a tripod as possible when I'm inside. It has a neat feature also. When it's a little bit of a slope, I can make one leg just this little bit longer to balance it. So there we are, almost ready for our shot. We are a little bit unlucky with sunlight. It's very strong sunlight, creates this massive shadow that I'd have to Photoshop later on. It is better if it's a little bit cloudy, makes off a much more softer light, but this is what we have to work with. My first shot is just for reference for my GPS data, so I will open the app, open like a GPS test app to make sure that I have good signal. Right now I have 2 meters of accuracy, which is very good, and I'll just take the first shot where the phone is right where the camera is. Doesn't matter if obviously I will be in the shot, but the next shot I will have to hide, and then the GPS data is useless to me. Now we have our first shot, and we can hide for next one. Here we go. The camera is ready. I'm hiding here. I can preview the shot. There's no one too close to the camera. I don't want anyone to be like right in front of the camera. And I'll take the first shot. So when I position the camera, obviously, I mean, it's a lot of it is a matter of taste, where you position it, how often you take the photos, and so on. For this single shot camera, you'd have to think about the stitch line. So there's a blind spot here between the cameras. So you don't want something too important to be there. So I like to turn it a little bit away. People are not really looking there. They're either looking up or down or backwards. So that's one way of thinking of how to how you want to turn the camera. The second thing you need to think about when you turn the camera is what is the main source of light. If it's the sun, and the sun is directly in front of one lens, that lens will be overexposed and the other lens will be underexposed. It's best to direct the stitch line to the main source of light, whether it's the sun or whether it's the window or whether it's a light in the ceiling or something of that nature. With this camera actually has a very good stitching software. It's called optical flow image stitching. So if you have any problem with where the stitch line becomes obvious, you can hit that. It takes 2 minutes to render, but then that usually is resolved. So you just need to decide whether you want to focus, whether you want to choose to point the stitch line to something that is not of importance, or whether you want to turn it towards the main source of light. So it's good to preview the stitch line just by turning the camera and seeing where the stitch line is and seeing if you're happy with how the camera turns out. So I'm happy with this, and we're ready to shoot. So I am back, and the first thing I was reflecting on the way back was that the distance between the shots was not 2 to 3 meters, it was more like 3 to 4 meters. There are instances where I would take a shot in, with a meter distance, but that's maybe in a tight corner. Doors is another example where a meter would be good. Staircase where there's a sharp turn in the staircase, I would do like that, but in this shop it was more like 3 to 4 meters. And when I was doing the shoot, I was thinking that might be people might feel it's a bad idea to shoot in a store when it's open, and people look at you funny and might think something of you. But in my mind, I pretend that I own the place. Then I look more kind of authoritative, and people really didn't think too much of it. It helps also that the camera doesn't look like a camera. It looks like some kind of a measuring device on a tripod, and people will just ignore you. They're not thinking that they will be famous on Google Maps. Maybe it's the fact that I'm in Iceland that there aren't really that many privacy concerns or anything like that, and you should look into your local laws, what you are prohibited to do. But generally, I mean, of course I will blur their faces, so I'm not worried about anything. And if they see themselves on Google, they'll just there's an easy way to submit it to Google, and they will take care of it. I go into so much effort. I will make sure that when I'm taking shots of the counter or cashier, that there will be a staff there. So people will not just see an empty cashier. And if it's quiet, if there are not many customers, I will even pretend to be one. I will just turn my back to the camera and pretend I'm sitting at a restaurant or something like that. And I suggest that you talk to the business owner beforehand and ask him, when do you think that there will be few customers? You don't want it to be overcrowded. It will just make it problem for you that people will be too close to the shot, but at least some medium number of people. If you have the luxury of choosing your timing, if it's a second job for you, maybe you just have this time slot that you will go. But if you have the flexibility, I would that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, so let's do a small recap of what we've learned. So first is to choose with the owner whether you want to keep the store open or closed, as we talked about. Take a blueprint or make yourself a map and make a plan of where the shots are. It really helps you when you are doing this shoot to think of where you have gone. And I mean, you might change it. I usually change it once I start shooting. I will change something, but it really, it has helped me. The distance between shots is on average like 3 meters, but could be as low as 1 meter or up to 10 meters. Always before you do the shoot, you would clean both lenses, do a gyroscope calibration, and put the settings to HDR. It's also possible to do it in RAW. I think HDR works better for me, but at least avoid the normal JPEG. Put the camera on a light stand. You could also use a monopod, but I like the light stand. Put the camera on eye level. Keep all doors open. It becomes more inviting to go through it when the door is open. I will start the shoot outside, so take one shot with the phone close to the camera, because the GPS coordinates will be recorded from your phone, so it helps to have at least one photo where the GPS is correct. And when you're doing the shoot, put the stitch line towards something that is not of importance. Unless there is a light issue, if there is a strong source of light, then turn the stitch line towards the main source of light. So that's about it. I'm really excited for you to begin making Street View tours. The Street View program has changed over the years quite significantly, and probably will continue to do so in the future. So I will update any changes in the magic box downstairs, and if there's enough changes, I will even make an entire new video and link downstairs. This is my first video on this channel, so if you found this information useful, consider subscribing, because I will be posting more useful videos, anything related to Street View. Or if you are watching this in the future, you should definitely check out my channel, because I have a lot of videos there, I'm sure. I will be doing videos about post-processing techniques, how to connect the panos and make a virtual tour, of course how to upload them, and much more. So see you in the next one.